Okay, I think we're almost there. Ah, here we go. Good afternoon, everybody. It is Angie Atkinson, and I'm here once again on Tuesday afternoon with the lovely and talented Dana Morningstar. Dana, welcome back.
Well, thank you for having me as always.
I'm always happy to have you. I hope everyone can hear me okay. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, perfect. My internet's weird. Okay, so today we thought we would. Okay, first of all, for those of you who are new around here, we do this stream usually every Tuesday. Every now and then we miss a day, but we always let you know in advance if we're going to or before the streams do. And today we are here on this channel. Next week we'll be over on Dana's channel, which is Thrive After Abuse right here on YouTube. And you can also find her at thriveafterabuse.com and Thrive After Abuse around the interwebs. So make sure you subscribe to Dana as well as to myself so you can make sure to be notified of our streams on Tuesdays. All right, moving right along. So today we thought we'd talk about things we can control when it comes to all of this craziness we're all going through right now. And this is for those of us who are without narcissists as well as those of us who are still stuck with them at home. So Dana, what are your thoughts today about all this? Did I lose you? Uh-oh. Dana, can you hear me? Oh.
Yes, I had muted myself. I'm
Oh, how funny.
I'm just talking away over here on mute. Apologize for that.
Live show.
Yeah. Gosh. Uh, yeah, I was saying, everything in the world is changing on an hourly basis, and it understandably can really rock somebody's feelings of safety and security. And we all need kind of that ability to have safety and security and stability in our life. And so these times are really trying for lots of different reasons. And so I think it's important that we kind of focus on what do we have control over and what do we not have control over, and at least understand the differences between the two, and then focus on what we do have control over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, in everyday life, that's always something we should be doing. But I think in this case, it's even more important to focus on, what we can't control. We can't control the virus. We can't control the people around us, except for maybe if we're lucky, a couple of the people in our house. I mean,
Mhm.
what's control though? I'm not trying to control my kids. But we can't control a lot. What we can control is our own perception, our own reaction, the way we choose to live every moment. And
Mhm.
so I know one of the things, Dana, you said that you were doing is kind of having a metered amount of news in your life. So you're kind of just how often are you watching?
I update myself, well, normally twice a day, like once in the morning and once in the evening. But even then, I'm starting to kind of slowly taper that off because I feel um, we already know what to do. It's the social distancing, it's hand washing, it's cleaning everything that comes inside of your home. It's you know, getting more news, more of a death count, more fear, more of this. It's not helping.
Right.
And it just increases anxiety, which, and it's so hard to turn off the news. I get it, because it feels like we've got to stay informed, because if we're not, then we're at risk. But the reality is there comes a limit where that additional exposure is going to increase our stress, which is going to decrease our immune system.
Yep.
So watching the news nonstop is actually putting us at higher risk than not watching it. So we know what we need to do. Now it's time for us just to do it. And I see a lot of people online, and you might be seeing this too, Angie, because domestic violence and all of that is on the rise big time during this, and probably child abuse and this as well. And people are posting a lot online, like, well, what do I do? I live with this, um, you know, narcissist, or this impossible person who's not listening. They're just doing whatever they want. They think they're immune from this. They think that they're not going to get it. I can't control their behavior. How do I get them to stop? Right? How do I get them to wash their hands, or to wash groceries, or to, stop having parties? this kind of thing. And the
Mhm.
reality is we don't have control over their behavior. We only have control over our behavior. And I know it's times are difficult, money is tight for a lot of people, but we have to do what we have to do. That might mean quarantining yourself in a different room of the house. It might mean setting up a tent in the backyard. It might mean going to a domestic violence shelter. There's We have to figure out what are your options to keep you safe, because we don't have control over the other person, and trying to communicate to them the severity of this. If they don't understand that by now, then I don't know what it's going to take outside of them actually getting the virus and winding up in the hospital.
Right. And truly. And I think for those of us who are, I mean, you can only do what you can do, like Dana said. So as far as the news goes, I've been watching or listening or reading like just a few minutes a day. Like whatever Philip DeFranco tells me about it,
Mhm.
that's pretty much what I watch. Unless it's, I try to keep an eye on my state in case there are any new things I need to know. But it's pretty scary stuff. So I mean, yeah, I don't dwell on it. I try to do what I can during the day to just. I mean, it helps a lot that I work from home. I'll give you that, and that I
Mhm.
always work from home. Hey, Imogen. Um, but certainly, I know a lot of people are struggling. So there are a lot of things you can do if you now. I'm totally all over the place today. I'm so sorry, everybody. One thing I wanted to bring to your attention is apparently if you go to like 211.org, there are lots of resources there for people who are struggling financially during this time. Um, yeah, What's for Tea says we can control our attitudes, our thoughts and feelings, our hygiene, our hair, maybe, our diet, our own self compassion and love. All of that is true. Yes, and it's definitely. No, I caught you. What's for tea? It's definitely a good time to do all of those things. And, like I've said before, it's a good time to, once you've kind of got a handle on the stress of it all, it's a good time to try new things, to maybe find a new hobby or revive an old one or do a workout plan, which I should probably be starting soon. Um,
I know, me and you both. I saw this post on Facebook the
uh
other day. Oh my God, this is so appropriate. Somebody had said, so with my 600-pound life, like, how does this work? Do they contact me or do I contact them? I thought, oh, that's so true. Because that's how
oh,
this is going with all of this, you know, stress
yes.
eating. And then,
I mean,
yeah.
yes. Yes. Um, my daughter has taken up painting, which I used to paint a lot. I don't as much anymore, but so I had all the stuff in the house. So she
Cool.
started doing that, which is cool. She's always been a an artist, but she draws like cartoons, memes, that's the sort of thing. But
Neat.
this is a fun new thing. Yeah, it's a good thing to do. Um, Imogen said she started playing her guitar again and writing poetry. That's something I got a clarinet. I've been playing the clarinet again. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Anyway, any new hobbies for you, Dana?
Um, I've been into jewelry making for a while. I've been kind of getting back into that. And uh, I have you ever done anything with resin?
No. Like, what?
Oh,
Tell me.
mm. We need to get together and have like a craft weekend,
Oh, that
because
sounds so fun.
so it's so cool. You can put anything like pictures or dried flowers or glitter or whatever into different resin molds and make them into jewelry or
I love that.
magnets or all kinds of stuff. So
I love all of that. That's really
yes,
awesome.
yes.
Right on. Yeah, I'm yeah, very cool. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm totally trying to go into the chat all of a sudden. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay.
Apparently we both have great hair today. Thank you.
Oh, that's good to hear. I had to
Anime.
the downside of this is having to cut my own hair during this, especially bangs, because my bangs grow so fast. And that's just don't look too closely at them. It's not. I actually ordered some hair cutting scissors the other day because I've
Uh-huh.
just been using regular cutting scissors, and
Uh-huh.
that's
I never cut it. I should probably, yeah. I haven't worried too much about mine, but my son, his is getting a little out of control.
Yeah.
They have, my kids have naturally curly hair, and it's his hair is kind of growing up, so it's kind of funny. Anyway,
Yeah.
so I don't know. I was gonna try to maybe go online and learn how to cut his hair. But I tried to cut it when he was younger and it was really, really bad. So the good thing about curly hair though is that it hides the bad cuts a little better, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
you know,
Yes. Yes.
you don't get too crazy with it.
Yeah.
uh
Something we did when I was in Houston that we didn't get to finish, but we started was this
mhm,
really complicated puzzle. And so like this is kind of random, but it's weird when you kind of think about we're living through an important time in history,
mhm,
right? Like that's
yes.
weird. That's weird to think about. So this is something that's going into the history books and that your grandkids are going to read about. And thinking about kind of what we're doing now, like journaling and kind of documenting these times and the
Mhm.
mindset behind them and all of it. It would be like our ancestors documenting the Great Depression or the Holocaust or these major significant events. And so kind of thinking about, oh, it would be kind of, so we were putting together this puzzle and I was like, we should totally all sign and date this because this
Yeah.
is what was going on during the coronavirus in 2020.
Yeah, this is going to be a world-changing thing, I think. I
Yep.
mean, yeah. And now everyone, at least where I live, they've been saying everyone should wear a mask in public all the time now.
Hmm.
And so, and they're, of course, teaching people how to make them. And
Yep.
yeah, it's a different world all of a sudden.
It really is. There's some really great tutorials on YouTube for no sew masks.
Mm.
Basically involves folding a piece of material like a bandana, or you can cut up a pillowcase if you have some old ones, and two rubber bands or two hair ties.
Oh,
And that's all you need.
okay.
And you
See,
can do it in 30 seconds. I strongly encourage people, if you're leaving the house, even if it's for a walk, even if there's nobody around, wearing those masks. It's so frustrating because here in Michigan, we're between the third and fourth most infected area in the United States, and people still like aren't wearing masks. Their social distancing isn't done to the frequency that it needs to be. And um, I went to the grocery store the other day and I was the only one wearing a mask. And I just thought, okay, and I felt really awkward and, everybody's staring at me, but it's sort of like, this just needs to become our new normal, at least until this passes. And to get over those feelings of, oh, everybody's staring at me or they think I'm weird. Like, who cares? This is
it's going to be a thing.
it's
Yeah,
a
there's
thing.
going to,
Yeah.
I think we're going to expect, and this is going to sound so stupid, but I think if fashion designers ever release new lines again, they will do so with masks. I really think so.
Mhm.
I think it's a different world now. I think some people will continue to wear masks forever, or for a long time anyway. I don't even know how we can really be sure that it's over, except I guess they'll tell us. But yeah.
I saw one, I don't know, video or something the other day, and it was so cool. This gal came up with the idea of making masks for people um, that are interacting with hearing impaired
Oh,
people. And it's like stuff that, if you're not hearing impaired or you don't work with hearing impaired people, like you don't even think about stuff like this. Like, oh my gosh, yeah, if somebody's wearing a mask, they can't read your lips or they
right.
can't see. And so she was taking plastic and just I don't even know, like really thin plastic and putting like a panel here. So she was sewing and then having the fabric around it that
That's
would
awesome.
attach so you could see somebody's mouth.
Yeah, I think I may have seen that somewhere. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, I wonder if I guess it would work. It would help for somebody who reads lips. That's really cool.
Yep.
Yeah, and I guess that's the thing. I mean, it's going to, on a positive note, there's new innovation happening because of it. Um, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think
Wow.
it'll be up to us as a society to determine what kind of changes are going to come from this.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be a different society when all is said and done, but that doesn't mean that it has to be worse.
Yeah,
We can make the
that's
decision
right.
to come together, to get to know our neighbors better, to be more connected.
Mhm.
There's a lot of different places. I wish there was more talk about the awesomeness that's going on out there. There's places like my mom's church, for example.
Mhm.
They're calling all of the seniors at their church. They have people that just do this all day long.
That's
And they've
awesome.
called, yeah. And her church is huge. I mean, there's, I don't even know, thousands of people that go there. And, um, she's already received 2 phone calls from them. They're checking in. I mean, she's fine.
Right.
But just making sure, how is their health? Do they have groceries? Do they have all of this? So the networking, the reaching out it's something that we can all do, calling people that we know maybe don't have a support system around, or they don't have children nearby, or um, you know
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, my daughter's school, not my son's school, my daughter's school, the teacher, well, my son's teachers have texted me a few times. My daughter's teachers have called the house and asked, "Do you guys have everything you need?" And I thought that is just really amazing that they would,
yeah.
yeah, because I guess a lot of people, some people count on school lunches as part of their plan for feeding their
Hmm.
families. And so the school's delivering lunches and breakfast to these families in need, which I think is amazing. Um, there's a lot of, you can really see the community coming together in certain places, hopefully more than just here, where they're coming together and really trying. And I guess your mom's church is an example of that as well. Um, yeah. So I think that's really positive.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
let's see.
Let's see, want to hop into the chat?
I was thinking yes.
Okay, I will see if I can find any comments or questions. Do you have any?
All right, I'm looking here. Oh, Imogen says her sewing machine is in storage. Aw. Oh, Doreen says, "Hi, you two. Nice to see you're still going in live and blessing us with your wonderful selves, advice, etc. My daughter Jessie and I are watching you together on a TV. Hello, Doreen and Jessie.
Yes,
Thank you.
hello.
We appreciate you. Oh, Izadi says short poems help for writing. I guess.
Hmm.
Yeah, Sun and Flower said CDC announced Friday everyone should wear a mask. That's about right. Okay. If you see something, shout it out, baby. Sun and Sunflower says I do better with self care and still rediscovering things about myself, um, and more than I need to improve. I noticed how much sleep I need. Oh yeah, yeah. My kids, their schedules are all over the place, and mine too. Not as bad, but again, mine's only different because they're home, and I can't go to the grocery store as easily.
Hmm.
um,
Here's a
yeah,
comment from Britt who says, my narcissist keeps leaving to cheat still, even during the coronavirus.
lock the door. I mean, I know, but I that's frustrating. I would say my advice would be I know it would be probably impossible, but if you know they're cheating, maybe lock the door, change the locks. I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah.
It's hard to have them go out in the world and then want to come back into your house.
Yeah, I'll be curious to know, mm, because the laws are changing surrounding this. Like they've changed even in the past couple weeks with,
Mhm.
uh, people coughing or intentionally, um, not social distancing and stuff like that. There's people that have been charged with, felonies. And one person was, I don't even know, maliciously coughing on things at a grocery store and was charged $35,000 for all the stuff that they had to throw away. And there's 2 different charges being pressed against them. So there's those people out there. And I think now, people are getting to the point where this isn't just you being a jerk, that there needs to be major consequences because you are knowingly putting somebody else's life at risk.
Yeah, those types of people to me are just they need to do something. I know one person, I
Yeah.
don't know them directly, but I know it's like a friend of a friend. I've met them who is going around, until just recently was going around telling everyone they were going to get the virus and give it to everyone they knew. And I'm just I think this person likes to consider themselves kind of a troll, but I think I mean, it's too far. It's not a joke, and there's
Yeah.
no joking about this at this point. It's beyond that, I think. I mean, we can joke about ourselves, eating all the food in the house or whatever, but that's different than joking about the actual transmission of this virus that is killing people. You know,
Hmm.
it's insane.
Well, it's like the prime minister um, over in the UK. He was going around shaking hands with people and had that stubborn mentality of, I'm just going to keep doing this. It's not going to happen to me. I'm not going to, it's not, the coronavirus isn't that big of a deal. Was shaking hands, and now he has it. Now he's in the ICU.
Right.
So it is a big deal, and it does happen. And there's probably, if you guys have been online lately, you've probably heard there's a lot of, kind of discord happening, especially in southern states, regarding um, church and state, and whether churches should be or could be locked down, and if that's enforceable, and if they have the right to assembly, and all of these things. And there's been quite a few churches that have had people are testing positive, and yet they're still having services because they think that their faith is going to be greater than the virus. And um,
That lady who said she was drenched in Jesus' blood or something, and that's why she's
yes,
not going to get it. I mean, like, I'm all for people's faith and like I support that very strongly, but don't be. I mean, science. Maybe she's right, but I wouldn't trust that at this point. I
yeah,
guess. I don't know. I guess we'll hear about that church soon enough and whether or not it worked, won't we? Did you see
yeah,
that video?
I did. And I don't think, um, I mean, it's one thing to have faith in God, but it's another thing to just be like
To blatantly
that out of
ignore
touch with
science.
reality.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's a totally different thing. I think people like that really kind of give people of faith a bad name because they're so far away from, being reasonable, and being reasonable.
I mean,
So
at a time like this, when it is a world, I'm certain that in the Bible, there is something about this type of thing, right? There's some plague or something in the Bible that would indicate that this can happen. If we're talking about, I know there is, right, Dana? Is there? I don't know. Anyway,
well,
there's
I
some. Go ahead.
I mean, in the Bible, it talks about, there's passages where Jesus has said, and we're just obviously speaking Christians here because that's been the main issue here in the United States, but, uh, you know, um, any assembly of two or more people in Jesus's name,
It's
and
yep.
I think it doesn't need to be this big big congregation of people, and it doesn't even need to be face to face. It can be online, and there's a lot of online services. And um, I guess my hope that people of faith, regardless of their faith, and I guess even people that are not of faith, that the whole kind of message, um, if we want to simplify it, like the good message of uh, Jesus, and the kind of, being good to each other or whatever, we don't have to go to church, but we can be the church,
Yeah.
right? So we can go out there and live that message, and be respectful of one another, and be considerate of one another. And calling seniors in your community, calling seniors in your own family, calling people, struggling single moms or single dads. uh, it's the works,
Yeah.
um, that are important. It's not so much just going into a building once a week.
Right. And on that same note, I would like to point out another thing. Even for people who are just maybe like not religious, but they're totally like law of attraction focused or whatever. Like I tend to kind of lean toward law of attraction a little bit. But the thing is, I'm still, even though I believe I'm not going to get it, it's only because I'm staying in my house and I'm not going out in the world unless I'm forced to. And even then, I'm using protective measures as dictated. And so I'm hoping I won't get it for that reason, you
Mhm.
know, and not because I think I'm above it or because the law of attraction is going to protect me. It's not doing the thing, I want to stay positive. I certainly do. But I'm certainly not going to put myself or my kids at risk because I think the law of attraction is stronger than a virus. It's the same thing, right? I mean,
Mhm.
anyway, I,
Yeah.
I don't want to tear anyone down or anything. And and I certainly would never talk bad about anyone's faith, but I will tell you that whichever way you lean, science is important here. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. I saw something Doreen said, and I think I lost it, but she said that her daughter's school suggested making a gratitude journal right about now, and I think that is a really, really great idea because gratitude, being grateful brings more reasons to be grateful into your life, and your vibration is raised, and you feel better, and when you're at the worst points in your life, like when things seem the worst, that's, in my opinion, the most important time to find things to be grateful for. Any thoughts on that, Dana?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And, my 2 cents on it is, gratitude is the best antidote to fear.
Yeah.
And it helps us to regain that sense of safety, security, and stability because we bring our attention onto the stable things in our life. Like we're thankful for the health that we do have. We're thankful for the loved ones that we do have. We're thankful for the food that we do have,
Yeah.
or the money in the bank that we do have, or the opportunity that we have, or the weather,
Roof
or
above our
I
head.
mean, just
Right.
any little thing that you can do. And this is a great exercise to also do with kids, especially if you're having kids that are struggling with anxiety during this time.
Yeah.
Um, to kind of build some reassurance with them. I mean, in addition to validating how their fear. I mean, it's a scary time,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
there's also there's a lot of stress and a lot of fear, but there's a lot of things that are good and right with the world too.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, let's see. I have a couple of questions here. Oh, Darlene says her church is a very small church, has been doing service on Messenger, and pastors, husband and wife, are trying to figure out how to do a live stream on YouTube. I think that's a great idea. I
Hmm.
think, yeah, if you need help, Darlene, reach out. I'll be happy to walk them through it. Um, Caribbean D says, after gray rocking my ex narcissist over a year ago. Oh, I wanted to also add, Doreen said her church suspended all meetings. And I think most of the churches around here have done the same thing. I mean, it
Yeah.
seems like the sensible choice. Okay. Oh, really quickly, Maura, Dana does cut her own bangs during this time. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
she
Yes.
she came in a little late. You want to give her the scoop on that before I go on to the next one?
Yeah, it's a hatchet job. Don't look too close.
She said they look good.
I was able to get them kind of decent looking today, but yeah,
We all have our days.
yeah.
Yes. Maybe I'll get bangs. No, probably not. Okay. Um, I had them before. I'm not that good with them. You rock them way harder than I do. All right. Caribbean D says, after gray rocking my ex narcissist over a year ago, he and his new supply ride in front of my house every other day during lockdown. If the police don't get them, COVID-19 will. Poetic justice? Hmm. I mean, just keep your door closed and locked and let them be idiots if they want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, poetic justice indeed. I mean, thoughts, Dana?
Yeah, I mean, I agree that if somebody had mentioned earlier in the chat, this virus does not discriminate, and um, it it is a big deal, and it is out there, and we need to take it seriously.
Yeah,
And those that don't, you're taking your health into your own hands, and it's a gamble. So
totally. Yeah. And back about the church thing. Imogen says Darlene's church is a very sensible church. I totally agree with that. Be Happy says God's words are, "I do not dwell in temples made of hands that made of hands." That is scriptural. I remember that, and I also remember what the one Dana brought up about two or more gathered in my name, not my name, in God's name are a church. That's a church. So anywhere they are. So yeah, I'm totally with that. I love the idea of the online church thing. I don't know why more of them aren't doing it. It's free to stream if you have a phone or a webcam. And like I said, Darlene, if you want to reach out to me, I'll help your pastors get online, because I think that's a great idea. Oh,
yeah.
Changing My Life says I did the global meta. Hey, Dana, interrupt me if you need to, by the way, if you have a
Okay.
question. Okay. um, Changing My Life says, did, oh, wait a minute. Imogen says they are saying it could be a year to 18 months before a virus vaccine is available, which I probably think is true because I think it takes, once they find it, it takes 18 months for testing. I can't imagine they could keep the whole world shut down for 18 months. I certainly hope not. What, anyway, Changing My Life did the global meditation live with people across the world on April the 4th, and it was cool. I didn't do that. I should have. Yeah. Oh, again, interrupt me if you need to.
Okay. Well,
Um,
I've got a comment here from
yeah.
Darlene who says, a friend lives in a seniors apartment building with a guy whose granddaughter was sick but didn't have her test result. She got bored, and so her mom took her to visit her grandpa. Now he is sick and awaiting the result.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
See, it's so hard because you do, of course, you want to go see your grandpa. Of course you do, but see him on Zoom or on Skype or on Facebook Messenger. I mean,
Yeah.
or I mean, most people have phones that you can video call directly to the phone now, even. I mean, a lot of people do. Um, but if nothing else, like they have that Facebook portal thing. It's kind of expensive, but I mean, if you can afford to, if they don't have a thing they can video chat you on, you can always send them a thing they can video chat you on. But I think that's so important. Dana, any thoughts you
Yeah.
want to?
Well, and I think it's important that people realize, there's a concept out there called irrational invincibility.
Mm,
And we normally attribute this to teenagers of, oh, they just think, it'll never happen to them, that they're invincible, they're going to live forever. But the reality is we all have this to some degree. And it's just part of denial. It's part of I think we're all kind of hardwired to this to some
hmm.
extent, because if we really thought that bad things could happen to us, we would probably be in a state of emotional collapse and not being able to get out of bed.
Yeah.
So there is that real principle at play for all of us. And especially for people that are having more mild symptoms, it's easy to think like, oh, well, um, it's probably nothing. It's probably allergies. It's probably a cold, probably the flu. It's probably nothing. Realize everybody is thinking that nobody's thinking that they probably have COVID
Right.
until they realize I can't breathe and I need to get to the ER.
Right.
So I really like how people are talking about it online of think about the virus in terms, I guess, for all the narcissists out there, it's think about the virus in terms of being afraid that you're going to get it.
Hmm.
But for the rest of us out there, think about it in terms of you don't want the passing this on to other people,
Yeah,
right?
especially the vulnerable people in your life. Like,
Knowing
right.
that you got grandpa sick and it potentially might kill him.
Yeah. I mean,
That the guilt of that,
horrible.
the pain of that, it's just not something that anybody, you know, would hopefully want to live with. So yeah, there is that instant gratification. I get it. People are feeling restless. We're all inside. It's getting to be nicer weather out.
Hmm.
People want to go run around and stuff, but uh we got to sit tight. The longer we avoid sitting tight, the longer we're going to be in this weird limbo half quarantine kind of thing.
Yes. Yes. That's right. Hey, I just got a really good comment here
Yeah.
from Be Happy, who says, "Did you know that stress can cause you to become ill?" And I think I know you and I both knew that.
Mhm.
And as Imogen adds, it has an effect, a huge effect. Of course it does. And here's the thing about that: we have known in this community for a long time that stress affects our health on a major level, right? So for us, I think it's a triple threat almost, or a double threat, because even if we're in recovery, we're not with the narcissist anymore. We're already going through our own sort of issues, right? We're trying to get past things that happened to us in the past. We're trying to move forward into the future. And then when we add this on top of it, the inability to go out and easily get the things we need, or the requirement to stay in our house, and some of us are alone completely, some of us have kids, or some of us are stuck with other people, some narcissists. It is difficult, but I don't know where I'm going. I guess my point is, um, stress. can kill you.
Hmm.
And if we're going to stay healthy, we do need to work on reducing our stress levels already. But in addition, this on top of it, I think we need to take it to the next level. So, like Dana was saying, take a bath sometimes. Or I don't recommend. I know this is going to sound. I know a lot of people are drinking right now more than they normally do. I have not had a single drink, and I don't recommend the drinks. Not any disrespect to anyone who's having a drink, but if you have any risk of developing addiction, like, do your best to steer clear of things that will make you addicted physically, right? Because we all know we
Hmm.
have that ability within ourselves since we've become codependent at least at one point in our lives. Um,
Yeah.
Dana, I feel like I'm all over the place. Talk.
No, no, you're spot on with that, and I think this is a really good time um, for all of us to examine how do we cope with stress.
Mm,
We all cope with stress in ways that we're probably not don't even think of as coping because it's just how we've been going about things for so long. But now is a good time to examine that because people that all are already struggling with potentially maladaptive coping, drinking, eating, shopping, all of that. It's if that's going to potentially get worse if we're not aware of it. And so, kind of observing our behaviors, coming up with, okay, what are some other ways that we can start coping?
yeah,
You know, and kind of planning ahead and anticipating this instead of waiting. Um, because I think what's going to happen is if we leave all this to chance,
mm,
and this is the big issue that I have with how trauma is handled, is it's not discussed ahead of time. So there's like this traumatic event in somebody's life, whether it's, what death, disease, war, um, abuse, what have you. There's no discussion of how to process that or how to move forward and heal from it or any of that. And then it's left up to chance as to how that person's going to cope. And if it's just it's a flip of a coin how they're going to cope. More often than not, it's not well. Like
right.
something tends to get out of balance. They either gain a bunch of weight, they lose a bunch of weight. They develop an anxiety disorder, depression, addiction, and then years go by. And then when things get so extreme, they find, or they have some sort of wake up call, then they crawl into, life coach or a therapist, and they're like, "Hey, I really need help." And it doesn't have to be that way. So
Yeah,
if you can think about, okay, how am I coping? Like what's working and what's not working?
yeah,
And is this a healthy way for me to cope in the short term or in the long term? And it becomes a game changer when we start focusing on thinking about our behavior in terms of long term. Our lives don't work when we're so focused on short term solutions.
yeah. That's right.
In general, that's just how poor decisions are made because it's not made for the long term. So I agree with you, Angie, about really being careful about drinking. It's easy. People joke about it. I get it. Um, it's easy to just to
Yeah,
fall into that, but
yeah. And
watch
and
yourself. Yeah.
yeah, and again, don't assume that I'm judging you if you're having a glass of wine now and then or a beer now and then because I'm not. I'm not anti that at all. But as someone said in the chat, you know, moderation. Caden said conscious consumption. Okay, you know who you are. You know what you can handle and what you can't. I have enough, as Caden also mentions, caffeine is also a drug.
Mhm.
And for me, I'm having no problem with that right now. I'm drinking plenty of it. But but my son, who's 16, he was a coffee drinker and recently said no more coffee for me. I'm too stressed out. So of course he's not as immune to it as I have become over the years. But but you're right. It's also a drug. It's also something we need to watch during stressful times for sure. Yeah. I have cut way back on my coffee for a number of reasons. Mostly the fact that I have a Keurig now, and so I don't need to make a whole pot of coffee at a time. So it makes it
Mhm.
a lot less tempting to go and just hurry up and drink it before the pot goes burned, you
Yeah.
know. But also because I'm trying to kind of conserve my resources. You never know. So yeah, a lot of people said they can't have. Oh, Imogen said I'm missing my lattes from the coffee shops. If you have a Keurig, you can get those in a pod. I mean, they're probably not as good, but they're something.
Mhm.
Let's see.
Yeah, I've been alternating between um, caffeinated and decaf coffee because
Oh
I was
yeah,
having a really bad anxiety last week. And I think a lot of it was, I'm at home a lot more. So and I love coffee. So I'm drinking cup after cup after cup. Well, I know from my past experience with anxiety, if I'm already feeling here, my what used to be my normal level of coffee consumption, 3 cups if I'm not feeling anxious
yeah,
is fine. I could even go take a nap. Like, it
yeah,
doesn't really impact me, but if I'm already up to, my eyebrows in anxiety, even 1 cup can push me over the edge, and I find myself becoming really irritable and anxious and panicky, and my pulse increases, and it's, it's not good, so
yeah. And that's I think that's what the most important thing to think about is listening to your body and knowing, okay, I better slow down on the
yeah.
coffee or whatever. Yeah, yeah. And I think I don't know, maybe I've lost a little bit of the immunity because of the cutting back, but I can't be sure. I do know that I don't feel normal in the morning without it, so I can't admit to being addicted. Um,
Yes.
yes, indeed. Let's see. Um, oh, changing my life says, and this is an interesting kind of point. Um, started reading some of the AA book. It's a hard addiction because not everyone who drinks is an addict. So you see people who don't get affected all around you. The same thing with food, shopping, etc. All true. All true. Yeah. And again, please understand that I am not in any way judging anyone. I mean, I
Mhm.
know there are plenty of people out there having their drinks here and there and not having any problem with that. I don't even know that I would have a problem with it, but I'm just here with 2 kids. And so I just don't really feel like drinking.
You know, it's so interesting that you bring this up because I was just thinking, I think it was even yesterday, um, about maybe I should go to the store and just get some bottles of wine, and
Mm,
that would help me relax. And I thought, it would,
yeah,
but I don't have a drinking problem.
right,
I rarely drink anyhow, but
right.
I don't want to develop that dependence of I'm feeling stressed out, I need a drink.
Same. Yeah,
And that's where it kind of concerns me.
yeah,
um
yeah. And that's the same for me. I thought the same thing. I even have wine in my house or champagne or something. and and I think there's an old can of beer in the back of the fridge from my husband, and I think there's a couple of wine coolers from summer.
Mhm. Yeah,
But if I'm being honest, but
yeah.
I'm trying to just well, I mean, it's not like an issue for me. I like you said, I'm not. I just don't want to become. I thought about it, and somebody added me to a group on Facebook about the end is near, so let's just drink beer. I've never been a beer drinker, but I'm like, that's why I brought it up, really, because of that Facebook group, and so many people are putting up pictures of themselves all
Yeah.
hip in the elbow, and concerns me.
Yeah. I think that's, at the end of the day, like somebody had mentioned in the chat, it's not everybody that drinks is an alcoholic, and it can be kind of hard to navigate that line, even for people that struggle with addiction. It's
Yes.
sort of like, well, I'm not sure if I really have an addiction or kind of where I am with this. And,
Mm,
um, but I think getting clear with yourself is whatever substance you're using, whether it's money, sex, food, alcohol, you name it, is it that feeling of a compulsion of I need this to somehow feel better?
yeah.
Or is it, oh, I could take it or leave it.
Right.
If
Yeah.
it's I could take it or leave it, and you're being honest about it, that's one thing. But if it's no, I need this, get out of my way. I don't want to be told no. I need this to relax. I need this to feel better. I need this to change my mood in some way, then that's an addiction.
Yeah. And if you're not sure, make yourself go for 24 or 48 hours without that thing.
Yeah.
See how you feel.
And then see.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really important point. Yeah. Um, Imogen says, I'm kind of feeling like ice cream and chocolate and bananas with wafers. Just enjoying something decadent can help. Can help feel less stressed. That's true. Obviously, in moderation, she says. That's the truth. I have made monkey bread a couple times. You guys ever had that stuff? It's really good. My kids love it. I have done that. Let's see. I thought Shred Squad stay calm. Don't know.
There is legitimacy to the whole concept of comfort food,
Yes.
and kind of the science behind it is, food that's high in fat, sugar, and salt, it just floods our brain with all kinds of feel good chemicals,
Yep.
dopamine especially. And so uh, it can be a challenge. That's why we tend to gravitate more towards, cookies than we do a salad when we're
Yep.
under stress. And um, it takes it's hard to kind of think long term what's the best for us when we're in that fight or flight mode and when we're super stressed, because our body is just screaming at us like, I need energy, I want to feel better. And it's hard to sit there and make a healthier decision. I think weight gain is going to be probably a big thing for a lot of people. I know with me,
Yeah.
I've been just munching and eating just a bunch of garbage, and I really need um, to
Yeah.
stop that, because
Me
I
too.
think it's negatively impacting my emotional health too. Because then I feel gross, and it's just a cycle.
I know. And putting on pants, like,
Yeah.
it's a whole thing. Why bother? You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I do have pants on right now, which is
Mhm.
something. I
Yeah.
always wear. Well, like I got in this. I found my old lady uniform for when I'm an old lady. I know what I'm gonna wear. It's this giant moo thing. It's like not really, but it's a dress that that just hangs. It's very unattractive, but it's so comfortable. I'm totally gonna
Mhm.
wear it for, like all the time when I'm old. I've decided something
Uh,
like it
yeah.
when I'm way older. But
Yeah.
anyway, I have worn it a few times during this whole thing.
I have this kind of hippie dress thing that I've had for, I don't even know, years and years and years, like probably 20 years.
Yeah.
And I love it. And everybody I'm the only one who loves it. It is so comfortable, and it is totally not flattering on me at all.
Same.
And it makes me look like I'm pregnant. Like, it's not a good look. And um I totally don't care. Like,
Oh,
I just love it so much. It's so comfortable.
yeah. Yep.
And yeah.
Same. I went out on my front porch in it the other day and my neighbors saw me and I was like, "What's up?" Because whatever. It's 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 the time to be,
Yep.
Anywho. Yeah, I can yeah, but I think my reason for talking about the pants was about wait a minute was because one of the things I've noticed is that when we get too far off of any semblance of a schedule, it becomes um did you see that movie The Good Place by chance? I'm
I
I'm
don't
gonna get to a point.
I don't think so.
Not the movie, the show. Okay, well, you should watch it, binge watch it. It's really good. There's a show called The Good Place, and it's about, essentially some version of heaven or whatever, and
Hmm.
also the bad place. But what it's really fascinating. But anyway, the reason I bring up this show is because when they finally do, and I probably shouldn't even tell you this if you haven't seen it, but what it all comes down to, and I'm going to make this as generic and vague as I can without ruining anything for anybody. When they finally get to the place where everything is perfect, it only lasts for so long, and then people start to get airheaded and like dumb, and they don't remember things anymore, and they like literally forget what they're saying in the same sentence. And what it all comes down to is that you can't have everything can't be perfect forever, because you don't have it. You want to do all the things. What is there left to do? And I know this is
Mhm.
I'm making a point here. My point is my point is we can't just like my kids want to stay up all night and sleep during the day and do all this stuff, and I've had to like kind of put them, no, you have to get on a schedule, because if you're not on a schedule, you're not going to feel normal. And it's very difficult. Their schedules changed, but they're on some semblance of a schedule, and I find that if when we're not on a schedule, just like those people in that fake heaven on TV, um, we do get kind of dumb. And I don't mean that like literally. I mean, when I say dumb, I mean like unfocused, unclear.
Mhm.
And I've struggled with that myself. And so forcing myself to stay on schedule during this time is really important. Although certain things I can't do, like go to the grocery store every Sunday or whatever I was doing before, I work around that stuff. But I think we need to create modified schedules if we're going to stay sane during this time. Any
Yes.
thoughts?
Absolutely. I think that's such a valid point, because especially for those that are staying home and, um, don't have to or aren't able to work,
Mhm.
uh, the days can blur into one another, and it's very easy to be like, oh my gosh, I haven't showered in 3 days,
Yeah.
or I just have been munching, I haven't been really eating
Right.
well for a while. And to make that a priority to get up and shower, and it's starting at the basics, especially people that have recently gone through trauma who are already feeling really dysregulated. And then this happens. And so it's
Mhm.
just kind of this double whammy in their life, and feeling completely overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So, yes, starting with the basics. If you're finding yourself really overwhelmed, go back to step one with, kind of food, clothing, shelter. Are you getting dressed every day? Are you taking a shower every day? That can be, huge for your emotional health. Allowing yourself to get sleep, um, paying attention to what you're feeding your brain, with not only just physical food, but emotional stuff too. With how much news are you watching? Or are you watching horror stuff? Or are you watching comedies? And being intentional about what you're doing.
Maybe steer clear of apocalyptic movies for a minute, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. It is really, really important to sort of listen to your body and your deeper self or higher self or whatever. Yeah. And what I mean by that is like your subconscious, because you might think you love The Walking Dead and you might really love The Walking Dead, but when you go to watch The Walking Dead and you've just been out in the world with everybody wearing masks and all the streets bare and empty and whatnot, maybe it's not the healthiest thing for you to, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't bother you at all. I'm just saying, if
Hmm.
watch yourself and be aware of if you become triggered when you watch it, don't watch it for a while, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. Giving yourself a break.
indeed. All right. Well,
Uh, let's
go
see.
ahead.
Be happy makes a or has a question. Says, when you're with a narcissistic sociopath for a very long time and then you're separated for 4 years, when do the negative effects go away?
There's no timeline, in my opinion, that everyone, people will tell you formulas and whatnot. I believe it to be this: when you begin to intentionally make the choice to heal and intentionally take steps toward that, and when you get to each little issue. So, for example, when you're to the point where, well, okay, I've processed the emotions, I understand what happened, I'm ready to move forward. Well, at that point, you have to be able to use pattern interrupt to stop yourself. Once you've resolved the issues, you have to be able to figure out how to drop the issue. Dana, please.
Yes. Okay. Uh, and I guess my question would be is, what negative effects are you referring to? Because like Angie was saying, everybody has their own timeline, and but also everybody has their own negative effects. And so getting clear on, as clear as you possibly can, on what are the challenges that you're currently struggling with, and then addressing them. And then as soon as those are kind of worked through, then the next level, I mean, that's just life in general. And the next level of um, things to resolve will appear, and so on and so on. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's a good time now to work on that stuff. Now that we're kind of
Hmm.
on, yeah, sort of on worldwide
Yeah.
pause. Um, BRAD says, I keep myself busy by doing online certifications, studying, keeping my mind active. I think that's really smart,
Hmm.
and I highly recommend that.
Yep. There's what is the website? Masterclass. I don't know if you've ever subscribed. Like, I think it's not cheap, but it's a ton of content by really amazing people.
Mhm.
Um, it's a couple $100 for us for an annual subscription, but like one class itself, I think is like $175.
Hmm.
So for the cost of two classes, you get the whole subscription and access to all of their course content.
Wow.
Um, so that's, I mean, they've got people, famous people in all avenues that are teaching classes on this. So it's really cool to be able to hear what famous writers or
Which
uh,
platform is it called? What's it called?
masterclass.
Oh yeah, I was looking
Yeah.
at that actually. I was thinking about, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
What's the deal? Tell me again.
It's a bunch of course content from super talented people in various fields. So you've got
Right. No, I mean the pricing.
oh, I'd have to look. Last year
Okay.
at least it was, I don't know, $350 or so for an annual subscription that you paid one time, or but each class can be like 100 and some. So basically for the cost of two classes, you just get the annual subscription and you get
Okay.
access to all of their
That's
courses.
awesome. Okay.
So
Yeah, I actually was looking at that. There was somebody on there that I was seriously interested in looking at. I might have to do it now. But I don't actually have any extra time that like a lot of people have all this extra time on their hands. I'm not really there in my
yeah. Yeah.
because of all the things I always do anyway.
Right, right.
Yeah. Okay, let's see.
Let's see, here's a comment
Mhm.
from Shred Squad. Says, I hate her. I hate her to the core, but I'm also madly in love with her. I just don't understand. After all that, I couldn't help myself but to go back. And somebody had, Imogene had said, it doesn't sound like self love to love someone you hate to the core.
Yeah, that's right. I think what a lot of people don't understand is that I think most people here right now might relate to this idea of loving someone so much and also hating them at the same time. I can. Until you get to the point where you recognize that it's not just because you love someone doesn't mean you have to stay with them. If they're abusing you, you can still love them and move away from them. And it's harder, but eventually you'll be able to let go of that feeling of love. But right now, I mean, and I don't know that right now is the right time, but
Mm-hmm.
in general, giving yourself the approval, giving yourself the permission to walk away even though you love someone in order to protect yourself and your own soul is what I would recommend. Dana, thoughts?
Yeah. And I would encourage you to get clear on what your definition of love
Mm,
is, because
yes.
this is something, and again, this stuff's not taught. So people tend to confuse like these intense emotions. God, I think about this person all the time. I can't imagine my life without them. All I want is them. That level of kind of obsessive desire is not love. That's just obsessive desire.
That's right.
Love is it's something that grows between two people. It's not something that we just fall into. That's infatuation.
Yep.
Yeah, love is based on behavior. It's based on respect and dignity and nurturing the other person and all of these things. So as a society, we're kind of raised at a young age to think that love is this all consuming, any music that you listen to talks about, love hurts, and it basically wants you would die for this other person, or if you can't have them, then nobody will, kind of a thing. And
Hmm.
that's not love.
Yeah.
uh, but getting clear on what love is action wise, like love is truly, it is a verb. It's actions that are done. So getting clear on what love is can help you to separate the difference between love and that basically trauma bond.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember, when the right before I went no contact with my mother, I experienced a significant event that she caused, and in that moment I had this thing. I physically felt something break inside of me, but it didn't. Obviously, it was just a
Mhm.
proverbially speaking, but I did feel it. But what I would say it was is the cord of obligation, or that
Mm.
connection that I felt. And I think sometimes love equals obligation for us. And I know in the case of who we're talking about, it might be a situation where we're talking about someone who is physically attracted to the person beyond a point they feel they can control, or and I know there's more to it than that. I'm just saying, I here's the perfect response to all of this. Imogen,
Mhm.
she says, love is respect and kindness and compassion and understanding, and even knowing when to walk away. Self love is also all of these things. Real love understands that we all deserve love to give and receive. And I absolutely agree with that. I
Yeah,
do.
100%.
Yeah.
Sort of, I think it was the Dalai Lama who had said, your compassion is not complete unless it includes yourself. And
Yes.
it's the same thing with love. Like if it's one sided where, uh, or so imbalanced where we're like, oh, I really love this person, I just don't like them,
Hmm.
then there's, that's not necessarily love. And um, being compassionate to somebody else at the expense of hurting ourselves is not true compassion. Loving somebody at the expense of being hurt isn't self-love for sure, and it's not love. And
Right.
generally there's deeper things that are going on there. I would encourage you to look up trauma bonds
Hmm.
um, and see how those play out in these types of relationships. um,
Yes. Yes, trauma.
yeah.
I think you're right. I think, if somebody asks me why am I still missing someone who abused me, that's almost always my first answer is
Mm-hmm.
because trauma bonds.
Yeah.
And it is it affects the same part of your brain as a drug. This type of So be aware and just do some research. I've written about it on my website. There are videos here on this platform that
Mm-hmm.
I've done. I'm sure Dana's done as well, and she's probably got you've written about it on your site as well, right?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So just do some digging and see what all of this is about. Um, okay. Do you have any more questions you want to pick up before we get ready to wrap up for today?
No, I think
Okay.
that's it.
Okay. I apologize if we missed anybody, but listen, we do this like I mentioned at the beginning. Try to do this every week on Tuesdays. Next week, we'll be over on Dana's channel. We alternate channels each week. So make sure you're subscribed to both of us and that you hit the bell notification so you can be notified. And Dana's channel is Thrive After Abuse here on YouTube and around the web. You can find her under Thrive After Abuse. Dana, any final words of wisdom for our amazing people today?
I guess I like ending on the note of the whole self-love thing. And really now is a great time to be checking in with yourself, figuring out what do you need that's nourishing for you in the long term. How can you best support yourself during this time, whether you're leaving or trying to recover from a toxic relationship, or you're just trying to um, do the best you can with the state of the world that it's in.
Indeed. Yep.
Yeah.
And if you guys have topics you'd like us to cover in upcoming sessions, you can leave them here. You can leave them in the comment section below when we repost this, or just hit us up in the groups. All
Okay.
right. All right, Dana. Thank you as always. And I
Yeah.
will see you next week.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thanks,
Thanks.
everybody. And thanks,
Bye.
guys. Bye.